Hey everyone, and welcome back to the BridgeWay Podcast. I am so excited for this one.
Me too.
It's a topic that I know is on the minds of pretty much every nursing student.
Definitely.
And a lot of aspiring nurses too.
Yeah.
The NCLEX.
Oh, yeah.
Just the name
No.
can send shivers down your spine.
Right.
I remember back in the day having a few sleepless nights over this thing.
Oh, for sure.
I actually had a dream that I showed up to the exam in my pajamas.
Oh, no.
I know.
That's the word.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But we're here
We are.
to talk about the NCLEX
Yes.
with an amazing expert
I try.
who has helped so many aspiring nurses navigate this whole process successfully.
I've had a lot of fun doing it.
So for those who are just starting their nursing journey,
Yes.
let's break it down.
Okay.
What is the NCLEX?
So the NCLEX stands for the National Council Licensure Examination.
Good.
And it's a standardized exam for aspiring registered nurses, or RNs.
RNs.
And it's used in the USA, Canada, and Australia to make sure that you have the skills and knowledge to provide safe and effective care to patients.
So it's not just a U.S. thing.
Nope.
It's
It's a
international.
nursing passport.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
So this exam, it really tests your knowledge across the board.
it does.
I mean, you're going to be answering questions about caring for all sorts of patients.
Yeah.
From newborns to the elderly,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a whole range of health challenges.
Well, it really runs the gamut.
That sounds pretty intense.
It is.
I've heard that there are actually two different types of NCLEX exams.
You're right. There's the NCLEX RN,
Okay.
which we've been talking about. That's for registered nurses. And then there's the NCLEX PN for practical or vocational nurses.
Okay, so what's the difference?
The difference is mainly the scope of practice.
Okay.
So a registered nurse has a broader scope of practice than a practical or vocational nurse.
Got it.
So the exams test different levels of knowledge and skills.
Okay, so what path would lead you to one versus the other?
So the path you choose depends on your career goals and what type of nursing program you complete.
Go ahead.
So to be eligible for the NCLEX RN,
Mm-hmm.
you'd graduate from a registered nursing program,
Okay.
often a Bachelor of Science in Nursing or BSN.
The BSN. Okay.
But for the NCLEX PN, you would finish a practical or vocational nursing program,
Mm-hmm.
which usually has a different focus and is shorter.
Got it.
Yeah,
So choose your adventure and then take the corresponding NCLEX exam.
that's it.
Now, I've also heard whispers about this next generation NCLEX.
Yes.
What is that?
It's a big change in the nursing world.
Okay.
The next generation NCLEX, or the NGN,
NGN.
rolled out in April 2023.
Okay.
And it's an updated version of the exam that focuses even more on clinical judgment and decision-making.
So it's not just about memorizing facts anymore.
Not just memorizing facts. You have to know them,
Yeah,
but you got to apply them.
right.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
The nursing profession is constantly evolving, and the NGN reflects that it's designed to test your ability to think critically and apply your knowledge to real-world situations.
That's what it's all about. It's like you could know all the ingredients for a cake,
Right.
but that doesn't mean you can bake one
Exactly.
without knowing how to, like, put it all together.
Yeah.
So how does this next generation NCLEX actually test those critical thinking skills?
One of the key ways is through case studies.
Yeah.
So you'll be given a very detailed patient scenario,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to analyze the information provided, prioritize care,
Okay.
and make decisions based on your assessment.
So it's like they're throwing you right in.
Kind of like a simulation
Yeah.
you're clicking, not actually doing.
Got it.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty intense,
That is.
but also way more relevant to what nurses actually do.
Absolutely.
Now, I know there's a whole registration process for the NCLEX before you
Yes.
can even get to the testing center.
Yes.
Where do you even begin?
Well, before you can even think about booking a test date, you need to apply to the nursing regulatory body,
Mm-hmm.
or NRB,
NRB.
or the location where you want to be licensed.
Okay.
So this could be a state board of nursing, a provincial or territorial regulatory body,
Okay.
basically the folks who grant you your license.
Got it.
So if you wanted to be a nurse in, say, California,
Uh-huh.
you would apply to the California Board of Registered Nursing.
Makes sense.
You have to meet their eligibility requirements,
Okay.
which might include things like graduating from an approved program,
Mm-hmm.
submitting transcripts, and paying fees.
Right.
Once they confirm you're eligible,
Uh-huh.
they'll give you the green light to register
Okay.
for the NCLEX.
So you have to get permission from the NRB
You do?
before you can even, like, think about registering.
That's right.
So where do you go from there?
Well, Then you head over to Pearson VUE.
Okay.
That's the company that actually administers the NCLEX.
Okay.
At secure testing centers worldwide.
So they're the ones who, like, handle all the nitty-gritty of scheduling your exam.
They handle all of it.
Yeah.
And making sure that the testing environment is standardized and secure.
Yeah, very important. So Pearson VUE is like the test-taking HQ.
That's it.
All right, so once you've applied to your NRB, you've gotten the approval.
Yep.
Then it's time to officially register with Pearson VUE.
Yes.
Okay, so you create an account.
Create an account.
Choose your testing location.
Yep.
And I'm assuming there's some fees involved.
Of course.
So how much does it actually cost to take the NCLEX?
Well, it depends on where you want to be licensed.
Okay.
In the U.S., it's $200 US.
Okay.
In Canada, it's 360 Canadian dollars.
Oh, wow.
And for Australia, it's $200 US.
Okay.
And keep in mind, there can be additional fees as well.
Additional fees.
Additional fees.
Like what kind?
Like, for example, if you need to take the exam at an international testing center,
Okay.
there's an extra $150 US on top of the registration fee. So that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, so there's a lot of potential costs to factor in
Yes.
to this whole thing.
Definitely.
Now, once you've registered, you've paid your fees,
Yes.
do you just like show up and hope for the best?
No. Pearson VUE will send you a confirmation email.
Okay.
And then your NRB double checks your eligibility in the Pearson VUE system.
It's like a double verification process.
Exactly. They want to make sure that you meet all the requirements before you can actually sit for the exam.
Makes sense.
And once they give the final thumbs up, Pearson VUE will send you your authorization to test.
Okay.
Or your ATT.
ATT.
This is your golden ticket.
Ooh.
It's your VIP pass
To the NCLEX.
to schedule your exam, yes.
Okay, so no scheduling without the ATT.
Oh.
And how long do you have to use that ATT before it expires?
Typically, it's valid for about 90 days.
Okay.
But I would double check with your specific NRB to be sure.
So no procrastinating.
No procrastinating.
On scheduling.
Right.
Now, throughout this whole registration process,
Yes.
I'm assuming there's deadlines to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So from the time your NRB receives your registration, you have a 365-day window
Okay.
for them to determine your eligibility.
So that's 1 year.
1 year.
What happens if you miss that deadline?
If you miss that deadline or if your eligibility is denied, your registration and all the fees you paid are forfeited.
Wait, seriously?
Yes.
You have to start the whole process over and pay again?
Start over from scratch.
Oh, no.
So it's really crucial to get everything sorted out in a timely manner.
Message received.
Yes.
Don't procrastinate.
Oh.
Get that application in
Yes.
as early as you can.
Yeah.
Make sure everything is in order
Absolutely.
with your NRB. Okay, so you got your ATT. You're ready to
Definitely.
schedule your exam.
Yes.
What do you need to know about that process?
Be prepared to be a little flexible with your dates
Okay.
because NCLEX testing centers can get booked up, especially in high-demand areas.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Trying to, like, get that testing slot.
It can be a little stressful.
Yeah.
So it's all about planning ahead.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you want is for your ATT to expire
Right.
because you couldn't get a testing appointment in time.
Okay. Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Don't procrastinate.
Don't procrastinate.
Schedule early
Yes.
to avoid any last-minute panicking.
Absolutely.
Now, is there a difference between, like, scheduling domestically versus internationally?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so tell me about that.
So for domestic scheduling, you can either schedule online or call Pearson VUE directly.
Okay.
But if you're scheduling internationally,
Yeah.
you have to go through a separate process with Pearson VUE.
Okay.
And there might be extra fees or taxes involved.
Okay, so more to think about.
Yes.
So we're talking domestic, international, schedule early
Yes.
to avoid that panic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's fast forward to the big day.
Okay.
You've made it.
Yes.
You're at the testing center.
You're there.
What do you absolutely need to bring with you?
Besides your brain full of nursing knowledge,
Yes.
you absolutely have to bring your ID.
Okay.
And they're not messing around with this.
They're not.
You need a valid government-issued photo ID that perfectly matches the name you used when you registered.
Okay, so if, like, my legal name is Catherine,
Yeah.
but I always go by Katie,
Yeah.
I have to register as Catherine.
You have to register with your legal name.
Okay.
Even a slight difference in your name
Oh.
could prevent you from taking the exam.
Oh, wow.
And then you would have to re-register and pay the fee again.
Right.
We don't want that.
No, we don't.
So make sure your ID matches exactly.
Okay, so what are the acceptable forms of ID?
So if you're testing in the U.S., You can use a passport book or card,
Okay.
your driver's license,
Mm-hmm.
a state-issued ID card,
Okay.
a permanent resident card, or a military ID.
Got it.
But for international testing,
Yeah.
you need your passport.
Passport.
Okay.
No exceptions.
They want to be extra sure about your identity
Yes,
when you're in another country.
for sure. Makes sense. Anything else we need to know about the ID?
Yes, it needs to be current.
Okay.
No expired IDs.
Got it.
It has to be a physical ID,
Right.
not a digital copy
Yeah.
or a picture on your phone.
Yep.
And it needs to have your name in Roman characters,
Mm-hmm.
the recent photo, and your signature.
What if your ID doesn't have a signature?
Then you'll need to bring a second form of ID that does have your signature.
Got it.
And it has to match both your primary ID and your registration information.
Okay, so it's all about consistency.
Consistency is key.
Make sure everything lines up.
Absolutely.
Now, what if your ID is damaged?
Even a small imperfection could make your ID invalid,
Oh, wow.
but treat it like gold.
Got it.
Keep it safe.
Valid ID is key.
It is.
What about other rules and regulations at the testing center?
Lots of rules.
I bet.
So just be aware that you will have to sign a digital agreement.
Okay.
That outlines all the rules,
Mm-hmm.
and they even do biometric scans,
Biometric.
like fingerprints,
Wow.
before the exam.
They're really making sure that it's secure.
They are.
So if you break any of the rules, even accidentally,
Even accidentally.
we could be dismissed from the testing center.
That's right.
Yikes. Okay, what kind of things would get you kicked out?
Things like trying to bring in unauthorized materials,
Okay.
talking to other test takers, using your phone, or attempting to cheat in any way.
Right, makes sense.
And the consequences can be pretty serious.
Like what? What's the worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario, your results could be withheld or canceled,
Okay.
and you could even be barred from taking the NCLEX again.
Wow.
Not to mention your NRB could refuse to grant you a license
Oh, wow.
based on that rule violation.
So that's like game over.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so it's not worth the risk.
Definitely not.
Just focus on doing your best on the exam, honestly. Now, what about disclosing information about the exam itself?
That's a big no-no.
I bet.
Yeah, sharing any exam questions or answers before, during, or after the exam
Yeah.
is a major breach of confidentiality.
Right.
And it's actually against the law.
Wow, I had no idea it was that serious.
It's serious.
So what could happen if you bring that rule?
You could face criminal charges
Criminal charge.
or disciplinary action
Okay.
from the NRB,
Mhm.
and they could deny you a license for that.
Okay, so lips sealed
Lip sealed.
about the exam content.
Yes.
I can see why they have these strict rules in place.
Mhm.
It's about fairness
Absolutely.
and making sure everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed.
That's the goal.
So the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, or NCSBN,
NCSBN.
it's a mouthful.
It is.
They developed the NCLEX.
Yes.
They want to make sure everyone has that fair chance
Yeah.
to like show up their knowledge and skills
Yeah. Honestly.
and fairly. So if they suspect any funny business is going on,
Yes.
they have the power to take action.
They do.
Okay, so they can cancel your results
Mm-hmm.
if they find any evidence of cheating,
Yep.
unusual answer patterns,
Uh-huh.
or even like a surprisingly large improvement in your score from one attempt to the next.
Yeah, they look at all of that.
So bottom line,
Bottom line.
study hard, prepare well,
Yes.
and don't try to cheat the system.
Don't cheat.
It's much better to pass knowing that you did it honestly.
Absolutely.
All right, so now that we've covered all the rules of the game,
Yes.
let's talk about the content of the NCLEX itself.
Okay.
What can test takers expect
Yeah.
in terms of the types of questions they're going to encounter?
So at its core,
Okay.
the NCLEX is all about assessing your ability to meet the needs of your clients.
Okay.
And when we say clients,
Yeah.
we mean individuals, families, or even entire communities.
So it's not just about individual patient care.
Not just individual.
Okay.
It's bigger than that.
It's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So how does the exam actually test your ability to meet those client needs?
It uses what's called integrated nursing processes.
Integrated nursing process.
Yeah, these are the fundamental skills and concepts that underpin everything you do as a nurse.
Okay.
So think about things like the nursing process itself.
Okay.
Communication, documentation, clinical judgment, cultural sensitivity, spiritual awareness.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So all of these elements are kind of woven throughout the exam.
Yes.
Okay, so it's more than just knowing your medical facts.
It is.
You need to be able to apply them
Yes.
in a way that's holistic and patient-centered.
Right. They want to see that you can think critically about your client's needs,
Okay.
understand their unique perspectives, and provide care that's both technically sound and compassionate.
Okay, so those integrated nursing processes are kind of the foundation of the exam.
They are the foundation.
Okay, but what about the specific subject matter?
So the NCLEX organizes its content around what are called client needs categories.
Client needs categories, okay?
Yes, and these categories represent the essential areas of nursing care that apply to all clients, no matter their age, health condition, or the setting they're in.
So it's like a standardized framework
Exactly.
that makes sure everyone is being assessed on the same core knowledge and skills.
That's it.
Got it. And within each client needs category,
Yes.
are there subcategories?
There are subcategories that dive into more specific aspects of care.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the main categories is safe and effective care environment. And this covers things like managing care, safety and infection control,
Okay.
and legal and ethical considerations.
That sounds pretty comprehensive.
It's a big one.
What are some other client needs categories covered on the exam?
You've also got health promotion and maintenance,
Okay.
which is all about growth and development, disease prevention, and health education. Then you have psychosocial integrity, which deals with things like coping mechanisms, stress management,
Right.
and mental health issues.
Got it.
And we can't forget about physiological integrity. That's a big one.
I bet.
Covering topics like basic care and comfort, medication administration, reducing risk for patients,
Okay.
and how the body adapts to different conditions.
Wow, that's a lot to take in.
It's a lot.
I'm guessing the questions themselves aren't exactly easy.
You're not.
Okay.
The NCLEX isn't just about spitting out facts.
Right.
It's about applying your knowledge, thinking critically.
Yeah.
And that's where those different cognitive levels come into play.
Cognitive levels.
Cognitive levels.
What are those?
Think of it as like the level of thinking you need to use to answer a question.
Okay.
So some questions might be very straightforward, like recalling a definition.
Okay.
But a lot of them are going to require you to think on a higher level, like analyzing information, applying your knowledge to a scenario, or evaluating different courses of action.
So you might be given like a complex patient situation.
Yes.
And have to use your critical thinking skills.
Absolutely.
To figure out like the best nursing interventions.
Exactly.
And that's where those integrated nursing processes really come into play.
They're always there in the background.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, this NCLEX is no joke.
It's not.
Now, I'm curious about how the exam itself is developed.
Yeah.
Like, who decides what content is included?
It's a good question.
And how the questions are structured?
So the NCSBN has a very rigorous process for developing the NCLEX.
Okay.
They actually conduct what's called a practice analysis every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
To make sure the exam reflects what's happening in real-world, entry-level nursing practice.
So they're keeping things
Current, relevant.
with what's actually happening
Absolutely.
in the field.
Yeah.
So how does this practice analysis inform the development of the exam questions?
So based on what they find in that practice analysis, the NCSBN creates a really detailed test plan that outlines the content areas and cognitive levels that are going to be on the exam.
Got it.
And then they recruit experienced nursing instructors from across the country to write the exam questions.
Oh, wow.
So these are nurses who are actually working in the field and teaching the next generation of nurses.
They know what they're talking about.
They know their stuff.
So these instructors write the questions.
Yes.
Is there like any quality control to make sure the questions are fair?
Absolutely.
Accurate?
So the questions go through a rigorous review process.
Okay.
Once they're written, another panel of expert nurses reviews them to make sure they align with the test plan and reflect current best practices.
So it's not just like they write them and then they're on the exam.
No.
What happens next?
Then they're pre-tested.
Pre-tested.
With a large group of NCLEX candidates to see how they perform.
So they really put these questions through their paces.
They do.
Okay, to make sure that they're high quality.
High quality and fair.
Okay, so they're going above and beyond.
They are.
To make sure that this exam is a valid and reliable measure of nursing competence.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know how the exam is developed. We know the types of content covered.
Yes.
Let's talk about the format of the NCLEX.
Okay.
How is this exam administered?
So the NCLEX is a computer-based exam,
Okay.
which means you'll be taking it on a computer
Right.
at a secure testing center.
So no more paper and pencils?
Nope.
Okay, tell me about this computer-based format.
One of the key things to know is that it uses a method called computerized adaptive testing,
Oh, okay.
or CCAT.
CK.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that the exam is tailored to your individual ability level. Yeah, the computer actually selects questions based on your responses to previous questions.
So the exam is like adjusting to you.
It's adjusting to you in real time.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
What's the goal of that?
So the goal of CTI is to determine your competency as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Because the computer's constantly reassessing your ability level.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably end up answering fewer questions
Oh, okay.
than you would on a traditional fixed form exam.
That's a bonus.
That is.
So are there a set number of questions on the NCLEX?
Not exactly. The minimum number of questions is 75, and the maximum is 265.
Wow, 265.
But the actual number you get really depends on how you're performing.
So if I'm like knocking it out of the park and getting everything right, I might finish early.
You might finish early.
Okay.
The computer will keep giving you questions until it's 95% confident
Okay.
that it has enough information to determine whether you've met the passing standard.
Okay, and on the flip side,
Yeah.
if I'm struggling,
Yes.
I might end up having to answer more questions.
You might end up having to answer the maximum number.
Okay.
But the computer's always trying to find that sweet spot
Right.
where it can accurately assess your abilities.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do test takers get any guidance on how to use the testing system before they start?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You'll be given a tutorial
Okay.
before the exam begins that walks you through all the features of the system.
So no need to worry about being lost or confused?
Nope. The tutorial covers everything you need to know.
Okay.
Like how to navigate between questions, use the on-screen calculator.
Okay.
And of course, there are test administrators available at the center if you have any questions or you run into any technical difficulties.
That's good to know.
Yep.
So once you've done the tutorial and you're ready to start,
Yes.
what can you expect in terms of the question formats?
So most of the questions are multiple choice,
Okay.
but there are a few other formats you might encounter.
Okay, like what?
You might see some fill-in-the-blank questions
Okay.
where you need to type a numerical answer
Mm-hmm.
or select all that apply questions
Right.
where you have to choose multiple correct answers from a list.
Okay, so they're mixing things up a bit.
They like to keep you on your toes.
I like it.
And they've even incorporated some innovative question types into the next generation NCLEX
Okay.
to really test those clinical judgment and decision-making skills.
Okay, so it's not just your, like, typical run-of-the-mill exam.
Not at all.
They're trying to make it as realistic as possible.
As close to real-life nursing as they can.
I like it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm even more nervous about the NCLEX than I was before.
I know. It's a lot to take in.
But before we move on to, like, what happens after the exam,
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about preparing for it.
Yes.
So we've talked about, like, the content, the format, but what about actually studying for this beast of an exam?
That's where a lot of the anxiety comes in
Yeah.
for students.
All right.
But don't worry, there are so many resources out there to help you prepare.
Okay, good.
Yes.
What are some of the best ways to get ready?
First and foremost,
Okay.
you've got to make sure you have a solid understanding of the content.
So crack open those textbooks.
Crack open those textbooks.
Review those class notes.
Review all your notes.
Okay.
Brush up on all those key concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you feel really comfortable with the material.
All right, so content review is essential.
It's the foundation.
What else?
Practice questions.
Oh, yeah.
Practice questions. Practice questions.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's so important.
Okay, why are practice questions so important?
Because they help you get familiar with the style and format of the NCLEX questions.
Okay.
It's one thing to know the material.
Yeah.
But it's another thing to be able to apply that knowledge in the way that the NCLEX expects you to.
Right, in that format.
Yes, practice questions help bridge that gap.
So it's not just about, like, memorizing facts.
No.
It's about being able to use those facts to, like, make clinical judgments
Exactly.
in that testing environment.
Yes.
Okay, and where can people find practice questions?
They're everywhere.
Okay.
Online, in NCLEX prep books.
Mm-hmm.
Some nursing schools even provide them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so practice regularly.
Yes.
Use a variety of resources to
They-
kind of get that well-rounded preparation.
Exactly.
Now, what about study groups?
Study groups can be great,
Okay.
especially if you're someone who thrives in a group learning environment. Studying with others can really help you stay motivated and accountable.
Right.
Plus, you can bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
Learn from each other's strengths.
It's like a built-in support system
Exact.
for all that stress.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned NCLEX prep books earlier.
Yes.
Are those worth the investment?
I think a good prep book can be a fantastic resource.
Okay.
They usually provide a really comprehensive overview of the exam content, plenty of practice questions, and some strategies for tackling different question types.
It's kind of like having a personal tutor.
It's like having an NCLEX tutor in your back pocket.
I like it.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways to approach this whole NCLEX prep thing.
There are many ways.
What's the most important thing for test takers to keep in mind?
Don't wait till the last minute.
Are we sensing another theme here?
Start studying early.
Yes.
Give yourself plenty of time to absorb the material. And don't just focus on memorizing.
Right.
Practice applying your knowledge
Got it.
and working through those practice questions.
Got it. So that's how you're going to truly prepare for this thing.
That's how you'll be ready.
Now, let's fast forward to after the exam.
Pearson VUE does the scoring, but it's my NRB who actually tells me
Whether I passed or failed.
That's right.
Okay, so patience is key.
Patience is key.
Try not to drive yourself crazy.
I know.
Refreshing your
Yes.
inbox every 5 minutes.
It's hard.
Is there any way to get your results faster?
If you're seeking licensure in the U.S.,
Okay.
some states offer a quick results service.
Ooh, quick result.
For an additional fee, of course.
All
It's
right.
an unofficial result
Mm-hmm.
that you can access through your Pearson VUE candidate profile,
Okay.
usually within 2 business days.
2 business days?
2 business days.
Oh, that's much better
Much faster.
than 6 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that these quick results are unofficial.
So I still have to wait for those official results from my NRB
Yes, you do.
before I can really celebrate.
That's right.
All right. So quick results, manage those expectations,
Yes,
and wait for that official notification.
absolutely.
Now, I know the big question.
Yeah.
How is the NCLEX graded?
Okay, so here's the big reveal. The NCLEX doesn't give you a traditional grade,
Okay.
like a percentage or a letter grade.
Okay.
It's a pass-fail exam,
Pass or fail.
so no partial credit.
No partial credit, no curve.
Yep.
It's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing.
Okay.
It comes down to whether you have demonstrated the minimum level of competency
Okay.
required to practice safely and effectively as a nurse.
Okay. So how do they determine if you've met that competency standard?
So there are 3 main scenarios
3 scenarios.
that come into play.
Lay them on me.
The most common scenario is called the 95% confidence interval rule.
95% confidence interval rule. That sounds complicated.
It's not as complicated as it sounds.
Okay, good.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
The computer keeps giving you questions
Mm-hmm.
until it is 95% certain
Okay.
that your ability is either clearly above or below the passing standard.
So it's like the computer saying, I'm 95% sure this person knows their stuff.
Yes.
Or I'm 95% sure they don't.
Exactly.
And at that point,
At that point,
the exam stops.
the exam stops.
You either pass or fail.
Pass or fail.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
What about the other 2 scenarios?
So sometimes
Yeah.
a candidate's ability level might be very close to the passing standard,
Okay.
and it's hard for the computer to make a clear decision.
Right.
So in those cases,
Uh,
you might end up taking what's called the maximum length exam.
maximum limit.
Maximum length.
Does that mean you have to answer all 265 questions?
All 265 questions.
Wow.
Even if the computer's ready to make a decision sooner,
Right.
you're going to answer all of them.
So even if the computer isn't 95% confident
Yes.
after 265 questions,
Yes.
it still has to make a decision.
It has to make a decision.
Okay.
And then there's the third scenario
Third scenario.
called the run out of time rule
Okay. That doesn't sound good.
or root.
Root.
And this one happens
Yeah.
if you run out of time before finishing the exam.
Okay.
And the computer can't determine with 95% certainty whether you
Mhm.
passed or failed.
So it's like a time crunch situation.
It's a time crunch.
And what happens then?
Then the outcome depends on how many questions you've answered.
Okay.
So if you haven't answered at least 75 questions,
Hmm.
which is the minimum,
Okay.
you automatically fail.
Time management is crucial.
Crucial.
Okay.
But if you've answered at least the minimum,
Yeah.
the computer will calculate your final ability estimate
Okay.
based on the questions you did answer.
Got it.
And if that estimate is at or above the passing standard,
Yeah.
you pass, even though you ran out of time.
Oh, that's a relief.
It is.
But what if it's below the passing standard?
Then, unfortunately, you fail.
Fail.
But don't worry.
Yeah.
You can always retake the exam.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So that brings us to another important question.
Yes.
What happens if you don't pass the NCLEX on the first try?
The good news is it's not the end of the road.
Okay.
You can absolutely retake the exam.
Okay, good. Are there limits on how many times you can retake it?
Yes. So the NCSBN allows you to retake the exam up to 8 times per year.
8 times.
8 times.
That's a lot of chances.
It is a lot of chances.
To redeem yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
But there is a catch.
A catch.
You have to wait at least 45 days between each attempt.
45 days, so no cramming in a bunch of attempts.
No cramming.
In a short period.
No.
Why is that?
That waiting period is there to give you time to review your results,
Okay.
figure out your weak areas, and really focus on improving your knowledge and your test-taking skills.
So they're like, okay, you didn't pass this time.
Right.
But don't give up.
Don't give it.
Take some time.
Yes.
Regroup.
Regroup.
Come back stronger.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Now, if you do fail the NCLEX,
Yes.
is it just like a matter of studying more?
Well, you don't have to just blindly study more.
Okay.
Remember your nursing regulatory body.
Yes.
They will send you a candidate performance report or a CPR.
CPR for your nursing career.
I love it.
Okay. What's in this report?
So it breaks down your performance on the exam,
Okay.
showing your strengths and weaknesses in different content areas.
Oh, it's like a personalized roadmap.
It's a roadmap for your next attempt.
Okay.
So you know exactly where to focus your study efforts.
Don't just wallow in disappointment if you don't pass on the first try.
No.
Use that CPR.
Yes, use the information to help you.
It's like having a personalized study guide.
Exactly.
Now, I want to shift gears for a moment
Okay.
and talk about the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
What happens once you actually pass the NCLEX?
Once you conquer the beast,
Yeah.
you'll receive your official results from your nursing regulatory body.
Right. And even if I opted for the quick results service,
Yes.
I still need that official notification.
You do. That's the one that matters.
Okay, so you get the official notice, you passed.
Woohoo.
Then what?
Then you can officially call yourself a licensed registered nurse. Yes, your NRB will issue you your nursing license,
Okay.
which is your legal authorization
Right.
to practice nursing in that location.
So it's like getting your driver's license, but for nursing.
It is. It's your permission slip
Okay.
to be a nurse.
And it shows that you've met all the requirements.
All the requirements.
All that education,
Yeah.
all that competency
Okay.
to practice safely and ethically as a nurse.
That's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal.
And then once you have that license in hand,
You're good to go.
you can hit the ground running.
Yes.
Start your nursing career.
That's it.
That's what it's all about.
That's the goal.
It's amazing to think that the NCLEX is like that final hurdle
It is.
between you and your dream career.
Yes.
Now, before we wrap up this episode,
Okay.
I have one more question from our listeners.
Okay.
This one comes from Michael, and he writes,
Yes.
I've heard that the NCLEX is constantly being updated.
How can I make sure I'm prepared for the latest version of the exam?
That's a great question, Michael.
It is.
And you're right, the NCLEX is constantly being evaluated and updated
Right.
to reflect all the latest trends in nursing practice.
So how can test takers stay ahead of the curve
Yeah.
and make sure that they're prepared
Yeah.
for whatever the NCLEX throws at them?
The key is to use up-to-date study materials and resources.
Okay.
Don't rely on outdated textbooks or prep books.
Right.
Look for resources that have been published recently
Mm-hmm.
and that specifically mention the next generation NCLEX.
So it's all about staying current
Staying current.
with the latest information.
Absolutely.
Okay, so don't just focus on memorizing those facts and figures.
No.
Really try to understand
Me.
the concepts and principles.
The why behind the what.
Okay, behind the information.
Yes.
So we're talking like going beyond rote memorization,
Yes.
developing a deeper understanding
Absolutely.
of nursing practice.
That's what the NCLEX is looking for.
Okay, so the NCLEX wants to see that you can apply your knowledge to real-world situations,
Yes.
make those sound clinical judgments,
Mm-hmm.
and prioritize patient care.
That's what it's all about.
All right, so use updated materials.
Yes.
Focus on understanding concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Practice those critical thinking skills.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yep.
Any other tips for staying ahead of the NCLEX game?
Another great way to stay informed is to follow the NCSBN
Okay.
on social media
Okay.
and check their website regularly for updates.
Okay, so go straight to the source.
They are the source
Yeah.
of all things NCLEX.
They are.
So it makes sense to go to them.
Yeah, and they often post about, like, upcoming changes to the exam,
Yes.
new study resources,
Absolutely.
helpful tips for test takers.
They want you to succeed.
to stay connected,
Credited.
stay informed,
Stay informed,
and stay
right.
confident.
Yes.
Now, before we wrap up this episode,
Okay.
I want to acknowledge all the aspiring nurses out there
Yeah.
who are on this NCLEX journey.
It's a journey.
It is.
You got this.
You've put in the hard work.
Yeah.
You've dedicated yourselves to this incredible profession.
It's amazing.
You are ready to take on this challenge.
You are.
Remember, the NCLEX is not just an exam.
It's not.
It's a gateway to a fulfilling and impactful career
Absolutely.
where you'll make a real difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
So embrace the journey.
Embrace it.
Stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
Never give up on your dreams.
Never give up.
And remember, no matter what happens on exam day,
Yeah.
you are already a rock star
You are.
for choosing this path.
Absolutely.
The world needs more compassionate and skilled nurses like you.
We do. We need you.
That's all for this episode of the BridgeWay Podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.